President Trump says he will no longer support legislative efforts to protect so-called dreamers from deportation. In a tweet, the president declared DACA is dead. He pinned the blame solely on Democrats and Mexico. Major Garrett has the latest from the White House.
The Democrats have really let them down. It's a shame. And now people are taking advantage of DACA, and that's a shame.
At the White House Easter egg roll, President Trump blamed Democrats for the legislative impasse over DACA, even though it was his own executive action that put the program in doubt. His comments followed a weekend of tweets and remarks about the Obama-era program that protects about 700,000 immigrants brought to the United States illegally as children.
Mexico has got to help us at the border. And a lot of people are coming in because they want to take advantage of DACA. And we're going to have to really see that.
But new immigrants cannot take advantage of DACA. Undocumented immigrants are only eligible for protection if they were in the United States and under age 31 in June 2012. The president also tied construction of the border wall to DACA.
Who is going to pay for the wall?
Even though he has largely abandoned the promise that Mexico would pay for that wall. The president also tweeted that Senate Republicans should abandon the 60-vote threshold and pass his immigration policies with a simple majority. But Mr. Trump's proposals attracted only 39 votes in the Senate this February, well short of that simple majority. Declaring DACA dead is also a full reversal for Mr. Trump, who said this in February 2017.
We are going to deal with DACA with heart. It's a very difficult thing for me because, I love these kids.
Major Garrett is at the White House for us. Major, do we know why the president is so extremely focused on DACA right at this moment?
Well, it appears to be a reaction to a sense that he's gotten from some of his outside advisors that some in the Trump political base fear the president has gone soft on the immigration issue. One reason they might have reached that conclusion is the president, a couple of weeks ago, was still endorsing the concept of granting a path to citizenship to 1.8 million undocumented immigrants in this country who would be eligible for deferred adjudication for childhood arrivals, otherwise known as DACA. Now, remember, Deborah, 1.8 million is the absolute maximum number. Only about 700,000 of those undocumented immigrants have signed up for the DACA protections, preventing them from being deported under that Obama-era executive action. So the White House thought it was being extremely generous in that sense of offering to Congress, look, a path to citizenship, not just protection from deportation for 1.8 million undocumented immigrants. That didn't break the impasse. Congressional Democrats, specifically in the Senate, didn't back other parts of the Trump immigration agenda. The White House has grown frustrated with that. So it has this concession out there that its political base has grown suspicious of, and still no deal on DACA. So the president and the White House for the last couple of weeks have been quietly retreating from that. And taking that offer back away from the negotiations. But now the president, fearing that his political base might be moving away from him on this issue, wants to intensify the focus that he's still an immigration hardliner. That's on the immigration issue specifically, but in the general atmospherics of a midterm election, the president's trying to keep that base motivated, because a motivated Trump base could reduce the number of Republican seats that shift from Republican to Democrat in the midterms. And that's something that is a huge and ever-growing priority for this White House.
So really flexing his muscles that he's still tough on immigration and still tough on the border wall and still tough on immigrants. But the president also today tweeting about the Justice Department and the FBI. He said the two agencies were, quote, slow walking unredacted documents requested by Congress. He called them, quote, an embarrassment to our countries, referring to the FBI and the Justice Department. What documents is he specifically referring to?
So members of the House on the Republican side have requested documents from a gentleman named Michael Horowitz. Who is he? He's the Inspector General at the Department of Justice. What documents might he be in possession of? Well, he's reviewing documents at the FBI and the Justice Department from the 2016 year because Republicans want him to look at this underlying question. Did the FBI follow all of its proper protocols in the Hillary Clinton email investigation? Did James Comey do the right thing? Did investigators do the right thing in either the assemblage of evidence, the conclusions made, and the questions asked and answered? Michael Horowitz is working on that document as the Inspector General, as he is required to do. Republicans in the House want to see the documents he's reviewing. Now, what the president is referring to is those House Republicans still haven't received those subpoenaed documents. What's interesting about this, Deborah, is the president acts as if he is a powerless victim. The president is the head of the executive branch. He can call anyone he wants at the Justice Department at any hour of any day and ask, what's happening with these documents? Why haven't you sent them over? And I want them sent over by X day at X time. Now, he may not get everything he wants, but the president is singularly empowered to accelerate this process directly, not via Twitter, which is interesting for us to kick around and a kind of fascinating social media phenomenon of this presidency, but that's not how the executive branch works. So he's casting doubt on a problem he himself could be much more engaged in trying to solve. So maybe it's just a political maneuver. Maybe it's just trying to tell those House Republicans he's on their side, even though he appears, if not unwilling, at least not sufficiently motivated to do the kind of things that would expedite the moving of those documents from the Horowitz files to those possessed by the House Republicans.
And I believe Christopher Wray, the FBI director, has said that he's put extra people to make sure that those documents are in order. Again, these documents referring to the investigation of Hillary Clinton and her private email server back during the campaign. And finally, the Kremlin said Monday that President Trump has invited Russian President Vladimir Putin to the White House. So is that likely to happen?
Likely is a tough word. It's possible because when a president of the United States suggests to any leader, hey, would you like to come to the White House for a summit? Most leaders, even those like Vladimir Putin, are at least intrigued. There are a lot of problems in between that suggestion, which came on a March 20th phone call between the two leaders, and it actually happening. And today the White House, in some small way, tried to put this in a broader context, saying, well, the White House is one possible location. There could be others. The fact is, it doesn't appear to be a lot of groundwork laid for a full-blown summit between these two leaders. And as the Kremlin noted, would this really be a good time or even an opportune time or a possible time for a summit when just last week and for the last 2 weeks, both countries have been expelling dozens of diplomats, closing consulates in what appears to be an escalating rift over allegations that Russia, meaning Vladimir Putin, used a nerve agent to poison a former Russian spy and his daughter while they were in Great Britain. European countries have taken similar actions. The United States is standing right alongside with them, and this dispute is escalating. Not the best atmosphere for a summit, not to mention 2016 election meddling, Ukraine, and disputes over Syria. This president continues to want to try to forge a relationship with Putin, but Russia makes it more difficult, and the political atmosphere, not only in Europe but here, isn't making it especially difficult just now.
Yeah, at the very least, it would be very interesting for those people who are putting together the talking points and the agenda of what the two leaders would discuss. Major Garrett at the White House, as always, we thank you.
Thank you.